What is up guys, and welcome back to another video. As you can see here, I am on the SP404-MK2 and I'm going to share 5 tips with you guys which I think you should find interesting. They'll help you make your beat making faster and they'll just generally help your workflow, hopefully. So I think some of these may have appeared as shorts on my video before, but I thought I'd consolidate 5 tips together, mainly because you guys seem to love these types of videos. So yeah, I sat down this morning, came up with 5 different things, and now I'm going to share them with you. Now the first one is that you can delete all the samples in a bank in one key combination. So this is going to save you a lot of time. You don't have to go through individually deleting every sample in a bank. There's one key combination that you can do and it will delete everything. So you can see here I'm on D, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is press and hold delete, and you can see it saying select pad. Now if I press exit, you can see that's lit up here, hopefully. You can see now it says delete bank D. Now I'm not going to go ahead with this process because I actually want to keep the samples on this one. But if I went ahead and pressed delete now, that would just clear out this entire bank. And it obviously depends on the length of the samples that you've got in the bank, but this is a pretty quick operation because it's using the internal SSD here on the Mark II. So it makes things super fast. But yeah, you just go ahead and press delete to confirm that. I don't want to do that right now. So if you do that accidentally and you want to come out of that, you just press exit, and that'll bring you back and you will save your samples. So that's a really useful one, especially if you're wanting to clear out multiple banks. Say you want to start afresh and make some new beats, that's a really fast way to do it. So press and hold delete, press exit, and you'll see the screen change to delete bank, and then you just hit delete to confirm, and like I said, just press exit if you don't want to do that action. Okay, the next one, and this is something that came with version 3.0. If you haven't got that installed on your machine yet, check out my video in the top right hand corner. That'll show you exactly how to do it. Really easy to do when you follow the processes in that video, so go ahead and check that out if you need to update. But what you can do now is in patterns, so I'm going to go into my pattern mode, and let's just play this one. So let's say you'd recorded that and then you thought, well, I'd quite like that but without the drums in it. So the old way that you'd have to do this is create a copy of that, and then you'd have to go in and delete all the drums out sort of in time with the beat, in real time, which is super annoying. Now you can just choose which samples copy across to the other pad. So I'll do a demonstration here. If I go to copy and I press 2 here, and it's saying A2. Once you've pressed that, you then hit remain, and you can see now the screen has changed to say select samples. So I'm only going to choose those 2 samples, and you can see there that I got a preview of it as well. Now they are velocity sensitive, so if you're thinking they're sounding a bit quiet, hit them a bit harder and you'll be able to hear them properly. Now that I've selected those, I'm going to come out of remain, and I'm going to press the pad that I want to copy it to now, and then I'm going to hit copy, and you can see it did that so quickly. Now if I play this pattern, guys, I just can't tell you how much time that's saved me since that's been introduced. I absolutely love that feature and I've been using it loads. Now I've actually already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. But yeah, that's a super good update that came with 3.0, so if you haven't got that installed, make sure you go and do that. Okay, this next tip is one that kind of came from the SX. It's one that I came up with years ago, and this is to help you put noise over the top of your beats. Now the reason this tip is good is it's because it's going to free up a bus for you. We do now have 4 buses here on the SP404 Mark II, but with this method, you'll free up a bus because basically what we're going to do is record noise to a pad instead of using an effect to apply noise to our beat. So I'm going to look for 404 vinyl sim, which you can see I've already actually got selected. And I'm going to hit remain in MFX just so you guys can see what's on the screen here. I'm going to turn the flutter off because we don't need that for this. I'm going to turn the noise up. And a good thing about this as well is that you can actually use the frequency to kind of change the pitch of it as well if you want to. So I'll demonstrate that now. You can see it's kind of putting like a filter on it, like a low pass or high pass filter. So you can play around and get whatever sound you want dialed in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then what you do is just simply record a pad, and the SP404 Mark II will record the internal audio and you'll have some noise on a pad. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's put the effect on. I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to choose a free pad, and I'm going to press record. Okay, and one important thing to note there is it feels like you should use resample, and that's one thing which I've always got confused with that. You don't need to resample, you literally just need to record. Okay, so now if I listen to what was recorded onto that pad, you can hear that I've got that noise. And then if you wanted to add more effects to that and resample it, you could do then. So for example, maybe I would put some lo-fi over the top of it. Now let's listen to that. So I could really dirty it up with some lo-fi like that and resample that again. You can just keep going till your heart's content. So then all you have to do is put that on loop and take off gate. And you'll have a looping noise. You can lay that under your beats, you can lay that under your projects and add some noise, and it doesn't use up one of your bus effects. So that's a super handy tip, and it's going to save you another bus that you can apply to your beats as well. Okay, this is one tip which has been super helpful for everyone. I did a short about this and it got loads of comments saying thanks for this one, and that is when you are choosing start and end points, how do you switch between the start and end? Now this is one thing that was annoying the absolute hell out of me, because basically, let's say here I'm on this noise sample. Let's say we had the start point absolutely dialed in and then we wanted to change the end point. Let's just say we only needed to change the end point a very, very small amount. Well, you'd have to kind of twist this dial, and then there you can see it's done it straight away. It's kind of jumped all the way over to there. So I want to just be able to change to the start or end point and be able to do that without having to move that marker so severely like that. So is there any way of doing this? Well, there is two ways of doing this actually. One of them is to use the mark button. So if I adjusted the start point and got it to where I wanted, and then I wanted to adjust the end point, you can press mark, and you can see here down at the bottom it now says M, and then it's got E in brackets because we are actually on the end point. And you can see if I zoom in now, I can now dial in the end point as well. And if I wanted to change that, you can see it's gone MS, and I'm back at the start point, and I can adjust that. Just make sure you turn the correct dial for what you want to do, because if you go ahead and do the wrong dial, then it's going to do this and jump across to that again like that, you see. So you definitely want to make sure that you're using the right dial. It's this one for the start and this one for the end, and you just use mark to hop between them. Another way you can do it is by holding down shift and actually turning the dial. Now what this is going to do is it's just going to zoom, it's not actually going to move the marker. So you could go ahead and hold shift and use the end marker, and you can see now I'm zoomed right in, and now you can kind of make sensible changes to the end point. And if I wanted to go and do that to the start point, you can see it's kind of zoomed me in, and now I can make really fine adjustments to the start point. So shift works as well, but mark is probably the preference for that tip. I think that's probably the way to go. You can just use mark to hop between them like that. It's super handy. Okay, this is one last tip, and this is really, really handy if you're working in pattern mode and you want to change the sound of a specific sample. Say you want to change the pitch or you want to change the volume, but you don't want it to interrupt the actual beat that's playing. Now, I use this absolutely all the time now. I do a lot of work in the pattern mode on this device, and I want to be able to access samples without triggering them, basically. So there is a really, really easy way to do this, and it works at any point on the SP, to be honest. So if you go ahead and press the value wheel and then press a sample, you can see now on the screen, it will tell you what sample is selected. So now you can see here that D2 is selected. I'm continuing to hold this down, and if I press 3, you can see hopefully that on the screen it's changing between what pad, but it's not actually making a sound. So if you're in a pattern, and let's hear what we've got here, so A, and let's go to A1. And if we come out of that and I want to change what sample I'm listening to, see A1 is playing, but I can go into A3 and start playing around. Let's say we just change the pitch of it. So you could see there, I could go into that sample, change the pitch of it without triggering it, and then it will play in the pattern. And that's just really, really handy when you're in pattern mode, because you can change things around and not have it interrupt the rest of the pattern, because it's not going to trigger the sound for it. So yeah, I love that tip, and I've been using it a lot recently. Leave a comment below, which was your favourite, which one will you be using out of this list. I'll be back with more content soon. Peace!